Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the I Am Passionate podcast. It's your host, Jaron. Hope you're all doing well. I just had the biggest computer difficulties, and I had originally recorded the episode, but when I was almost getting ready to upload it, couldn't hear the audio. So I'm back here trying to record, work some of my same magic again, keep that same energy up. But I just wanted to yap a little bit about, just myself, and I just wanted to let you all know that I'm doing good. I'm enjoying the things at my job. The long days are a little annoying, but I mean, you get that at any job. But I mean, hey, I'm making money, and that's was one of the goals I had, you know, coming out of college. But I also, speaking of college, because next month I have to start, paying back my student loans. Hashtag adulting. But I might look for a second part-time job just to be able to, you know, make those payments on time, along with still have some money in my pocket. So we'll work that out. Other than that, the other thing that I wanted to talk about, really about myself, is really just talk about plans for other episodes. Just because I know for the past couple of weeks I have focused on football, and I know I have people interested in other topics of other than just football, and I know that other people are like, okay, Jaron, we've heard you talk about football for 6 straight weeks, and we've only heard you talk about a few other topics. When will we get to see what else you're passionate about? Well, my idea on that matter is there are a few episodes. There are a few movies that are already currently out or coming out that I want to see, such as The Wild Robot. I believe that movie's already out. Uh, Transformers 1, which I believe would come out when I've been talking about the person who I want to go see it with. I've been talking to them about that. And then tomorrow, the day of this recording is October 10th. Tomorrow, the My Hero Academia Your Next movie comes out, which I'm going to go see that with my big brother. Which, Cameron, if you're listening, we got to make plans to go and see that. And I figured that would be a really, really good episode to have both of us on the podcast for. But if there are other things that you would like me to talk about, or if you want to talk about something, if you're very passionate about talking about something, let me know and we can try to organize something so that I give you a space you can come and yap with me, because as you can already tell, I like to yap. So focusing on the NFL, last week we had our first video episode, which the video episode was mostly posted on YouTube, with the whole uploading process. Last Thursday was my birthday, so I hadn't really checked Spotify if you can see the original Zoom video, because me, David, and Kev were all on a Zoom call. But I do know that it was uploaded, because I orchestrated that. But I, for some weeks, just because every week I don't always give a 100% clear cut prediction. A lot of my predictions, opinions are gut feelings. So I don't really have the numbers as on the season. This is hypothetical, 31-28 on the season with my predictions. I don't really have that. So next week I'm going to get back to, okay, Jaron, you were 13-4 on your picks for the week. So great transition into tonight's game, the 49ers versus Seattle. Give me the 49ers just because I think they're a little bit more desperate right now. They lost to the Cardinals, which I did not think they were going to lose that game. I do think Seattle will have a pretty good chance, but I think two words, well, both their names, Nick Bosa, I think he's going to wreck the game at some point. He's going to ruin whatever chances Seattle has of coming back. Next game, Jags versus Bears. Give me the Bears. I know a lot of people talk about the Jaguars, in London. They have a lot of success in London. I believe they've won the most games in London. But I don't trust Trevor Lawrence against the Bears defense. I think the Bears defense is going to cause Trevor Lawrence some fits. I do think that this game will not be a blowout, but I think it'll be like a convincing victory. Like, I can see the Bears winning, saying like 28-17 type of deal, which, yes, that's close. But, I feel like with the box score, we'll see something like, oh, Caleb Williams outplayed Trevor Lawrence, things in that nature. So for the next game, the Buccaneers versus Saints. And before I even talk about who I want to win, I know that there's the Hurricane Milton that, had, I'm not 100% sure if it's 100% hit Florida. I'd imagine by now it has. So just all the people who are in Florida, I hope you're okay. Thoughts and prayers are with you. And, I had seen some of the videos on TikTok, regarding the damage. And, some people, their houses, like, bro, I saw somebody in like a canoe. they were in a canoe in their house. That was crazy. And I saw another video that there was an alligator in somebody's house. So that is just crazy to think about. So I'm just hoping that everybody, in the state of Florida and other affected areas, I hope they're all doing okay. But Bucks versus Saints, I think the Bucks are going to take this one. Baker Mayfield is just playing out of his mind. He's playing some good football this year. I think the Saints, even if they had Derek Carr playing for this game, I'd still pick the Bucks. But with the Saints and Spencer Rattler, I think the Saints defense will be able to keep them in the game. I don't think they're going to ask Spencer Rattler to do too much. But I think the Bucks, they're just on a high right now. I don't think they're going to keep building on. Next game, Cardinals versus Packers. I'm going to take the Packers, but in a close game. Last week the Packers played the Rams, and Jordan Love, he had some amazing throws, but he also had a very boneheaded pick six early in that game. I understand he was trying to avoid the safety, but it's like, first off, I don't think that was a good play call, if in that situation, which the play that led to his first career pick six. And then secondly, I just think that he had nothing early on from what I saw. Watching that game, everybody was locked up, and I just think he was trying to do a little too much. But give me the Packers in a close one. I see this being a very ugly game. I feel like, Marvin Harrison Jr. have a good game against the Packers secondary. Now, what's being talked about as the game of the week / potential game of the year candidate are the Commanders versus the Ravens. I'm going to pick my Ravens. This is probably the first time I'm going to actually flat outright pick them. But I think this is going to be a close game. I think it's going to go down to the wire like the Ravens and Bengals did last week. But I don't think it's going to be 41-38, nor do I think it's going to go into overtime. I think maybe Jaden Daniels will have a chance to lead a game-winning drive, but, there's some sort of turnover on that final drive, even though Jaden Daniels has been taking amazing care of the football. And, I was talking about it with, Kevin and my brother David last night, that this season as of right now, what is trending to be, the Ravens' downfall at times, or what might be their downfall later in the year, will likely be their secondary. I mean, Joe Burrow had said before, the Bengals played the Ravens that he had to play damn near perfect, which he did besides for the one pick. But, the Ravens secondary was barbecue chicken. Also shout out to Shaq for the phrase. So give me the Ravens in a one-score game. Colts versus Titans, I really think this depends on who plays quarterback, Flacco or Richardson. I think Richardson just needs more time to develop because from what I've gotten to see of him, he's not as good with the underneath throws, but his deep throw accuracy is just insane. I think if he's able to consistently take what the defense gives him, I think he'll be dangerous. But just because if Richardson does not play, if Flacco plays, it's not 100% guaranteed that they'd win, obviously. Obviously I'm a little biased because Flacco played for the Ravens, but I think I trust Joe Flacco a little bit more against the Titans. And also the Titans, I feel like, there's the meme thing with Will Levis going on this year, and each week so far, pretty much he's had a meme-worthy moment. And even if Anthony Richardson is the one who plays, there's they have both with Flacco and Richardson great chances to win. But I'm gonna pick the Titans just because I'm unsure of who's playing quarterback. Next game, Texans versus Patriots. Give me the Texans. It's Drake May's first career game, which I think Drake May will play okay. I don't think he'll have like best rookie game ever. And also what I also wanted to talk about is I feel like the media has just blown things out of proportion, which I mean, hey, the media does that. But I'm referring to, back in week 2 when the Texans played the Bears and, after the game, CJ Stroud was giving I almost said CJ Stroud was giving CJ Stroud. CJ Stroud was giving Caleb Williams some advice, and there was a picture trending on social media where Caleb Williams had a sour look on his face. I mean, you just lost a football game, and I'm not saying Caleb Williams is a sore loser. It's just obviously not everybody was gonna have a smile on their face after a loss, and plus, I understand CJ Stroud, he's just in his second year, while Caleb Williams is in his first. But advice can come from anywhere. It can come from anywhere. I just turned 23 years old. I get advice from my 7-year-old cousins. I get advice from people younger than me. And I'm just 23. So I think advice can come from anybody. And plus, I understand that not all advice is good advice. That's very, very important. But I think coming from CJ Stroud, and it was, from what I heard and got to see from that, it was literally just, I don't want to see you taking all those hits, try to improve upon that, which I feel like, I almost said CJ Stroud again. I feel like Caleb Williams has, improved in that aspect. I feel like he's getting the ball out a little faster. But CJ Stroud had said, he's not going to give any advice to Drake May in his first career start. I feel like if that Bears thing between CJ Stroud and Caleb Williams, I feel like that never happened. I feel like it'd be different. I feel like it'd be a slightly different story. Browns versus Eagles, give me the Eagles. The Browns are just looking like a train wreck. I just don't know what happened. Even their defense is just not looking as good this year. I mean, Jada Daniels had, carved them up. Which, I mean, I understand. I saw earlier that Jada Daniels was struggling, but he did make some great plays to, extend the lead, get the convincing win. So, yeah, give me the Eagles. Next game, Chargers versus Broncos. Give me the Chargers. I know the Broncos have been playing some good football. I haven't had the chance to watch them, in depth just yet. But I feel like the Chargers are going to be able to run the ball with Greg Roman against the Broncos. And I understand that also Justin Herbert has not always played well against the Broncos. But I feel like, since Greg Roman has come to the Chargers, it's made the game a little easier for Justin Herbert. And also, Justin Herbert has not even thrown for 200 yards in a game this year, which a lot of people were blaming Lamar Jackson when Greg Roman was his offensive coordinator. And no, I'm not trying to say Greg Roman is a bad coordinator, because he is not. It's just, hey, it's clearly affecting other people too. But give me the Chargers, just because I believe they'll be able to run the ball. Steelers versus Raiders. I feel like this is going to be similar to the Colts and Titans. It all depends on who's playing quarterback for the Steelers, because, when the Steelers play the Cowboys, the reports that Russell Wilson will be healthy and be able to play against the Raiders. And if he does play, I feel like the Steelers might have made that decision based off of, one, we want to see what we have with Russell Wilson, and two, Justin Fields was not able to take advantage of an injured Cowboys team. But I'm going to pick the Raiders, even though that I trust the Steelers to win no matter who's at the helm. I'm going to pick the Raiders just because there's that uncertainty. Also, that's my first time picking against the Steelers. I know, Cameron, you've been surprised I've been picking the Steelers so much, but this is the first true week I'm not going to pick the Steelers. Falcons versus Panthers. Give me the Falcons. I feel like Kirk Cousins is going to have another great game. And, I wanted to talk about, Bryce Young, last week against the Bears, how we got in the game. The head coach was, taking a lot of criticism because he sent Bryce Young out there and the Panthers offensive line was, not as healthy. I think they were missing 2, maybe 3 starters, which I understand why, people would, be mad at the head coach, because you're sending your number 1 overall pick, even if he's in the backup role right now, you're sending your quarterback out there in a situation where he's already lacking confidence and the offensive line is not as good as it could be. I understand that frustration, but also in games like it's a blowout, I feel like, a lot of teams, not every team, like a lot of teams, they'll either just take out their quarterback but keep the rest of the starters in, or they'll just sub out, they'll just put in the entire second unit. Now, I'm not 100% sure if that is what the Panthers did when they had played the Bears last week, but I see both sides of the argument, because if I almost said CJ Stroud again. I keep saying CJ Stroud. If Bryce Young had gotten hurt in that game against the Bears, then I feel like it's an entirely different discussion, because it's like, why would you send Bryce Young behind an offensive line and you knowing that your offensive line is not in the best shape right now and he got hurt? Like, you traded your whole future to get him and then you just send him to get hurt. That's different to me. So next game, Lions versus Cowboys, which is, I believe, the Fox America's game of the week. Tom Brady's likely going to be commentating that game. I believe the Lions will be able to get it done just because I believe David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs, they will have an amazing game. I believe both running backs will be able to get at least 100 scrimmage yards, like, on their own. Like, I'm not saying they're going to get like 250 each. It's just, I feel like you're going to see David Montgomery with like 85 rushing yards, maybe like 30 receiving yards, and Jahmyr Gibbs, a little bit more 50-50 split with rushing yards and receiving yards. I don't think the Cowboys are just going to lie over and let the Lions do what they want, because, I mean, that's just not how, an NFL game normally goes, especially with a team like the Cowboys. I think the Cowboys put up some fight, but it's not going to be enough, because I think the Lions, their run game is going to be so good, Jared Goff is not going to have to do that much. So going on to my next game, the Bengals versus Giants. Ironically, NBC tried to get this game flexed to Sunday Night Football, and not tried to. They tried to get the Bengals and Giants switched with the Commanders and Ravens, which I understand it, but CBS was like, we're keeping the Commanders and Ravens just because that's going to get a lot of viewership. And so Bengals and Giants, I don't know all of the Sunday night football games off the top of my head for, that they have scheduled. And also, games will get flexed. But this might be one of the lower viewership games for Sunday night football. I'm taking the Bengals though because they just were just so unlucky in their game against the Ravens near the end, which Joe Burrow had said that he had to play a damn near perfect game, which he basically did. He was 30 for 39. I believe he had almost 400 yards, 5 touchdowns, and 1 pick. And his 1 pick, yes, it was a bad play, but it's like he was playing great. And so something I wanted to talk about is, even though this was against my favorite team, I believe when overtime, after the Lamar Jackson fumble, which set the Bengals up in great position, I believe on that 1st and 10, they should have thrown the ball. And I understand that Joe Burrow had likely audibled out of the initial pass play to a run play. I get it. But they were literally carving up the Ravens defense like a Thanksgiving turkey the entire game except for 1 play. I would have took my chance on 1st and 10 with the pass play because Ja'Marr Chase had almost 200 yards. T. Higgins had 2 touchdowns. I would have taken my chance on 1st and 10 and see what I got. And let's just say, they had a good case scenario. Then it's like, okay, you make an even easier kick. But let's just say they pass on the 1st and 10 and nothing happens and the Ravens still go on to win. If I was the one calling the shots, I can live with losing in that way because we put the ball in the hands of our best player, Joe Burrow, and we just did not get it done on that day. I can live with that personally. Would that cost me the job in the NFL? Probably so, because I've seen people in the NFL lose their jobs just like at the drop of a pencil. So give me the Bengals. I believe Ja'Marr Chase and Malik Nabers of the Giants are going to have great games. And then the final game being, the Bills and Jets on Monday Night Football. And before I talk about who I think is going to win, I just want to talk about Robert Saleh, the Jets head coach, getting fired. I don't fully agree with it because I don't believe it's all his fault. I more so believe that he's a scapegoat. Don't get me wrong. I don't think he's an amazing head coach, but I don't think he's a bad head coach either. I just think that offense is just underperforming like crazy. And like the defense will keep them in games. And also Aaron Rodgers last week did not play like Aaron Rodgers. So I'm not really 100% sure how I feel about it. But give me the Bills just because I think the Jets defense is not going to play as like we've seen them play the last, I think Saleh's been their head coach since 2021, 3 years. And also I saw something interesting. So Robert Saleh's first game a couple of years ago as the head coach was against the Panthers when Sam Darnold was there. They lost that game. I don't know what the score was. I don't know what the stats were. And then Then Robert Saleh's last game as the head coach for the Jets was against the Vikings and Sam Darnold. And Sam Darnold used to be the Jets quarterback. That is crazy to think about. It really, really is. Give me the Bills. I think, they're going to be able to, control the clock. I believe they're going to be able to play some safe football. And I just don't trust the Jets offense to get in a shootout. I do believe the Jets offense will be able to turn it around, but I think it's going to take a little bit more time. And the sad thing is that offense does not have as much time to turn around just because Aaron Rodgers is 39 years old, and that's old for an athlete. But that's it for all of the game picks. In the future, I'll try to take more note on, okay, I was 10-2 for the week, like I was mentioning earlier. I'll try to take more note on that. And also, I'll try to switch up the topics a little bit more and also just include a little bit more. And, maybe have if I have longer episodes, maybe the first half of an episode will be about topic A, and then the second half of the episode will be about football. But I just want to thank you all so much for listening. I really, really appreciate it, and I really, really enjoy doing this. I know I've said that a lot, and I'm done yapping for the day. Thank you so much, and I hope you enjoyed this episode. Bye-bye.